Good day to our dear learners of grade 7. This video is made for you. I am your TLE teacher, Ma'am Maria Lourdes Agustin Dingle from Muñoz National High School Main Junior High. Learners, please prepare your notebook and pen to take down notes all important ideas from the lesson. Find a comfortable place where you can listen and study properly. This is an exciting journey and learning on how to identify hazard and risk in shielded metal arc welding or SMAW. Now, get yourself ready. As we explore new lesson, particularly in grade 7 quarter 4, this video lesson will help you on how to identify the hazard and risk. Come and join me as we begin to enhance your skills. Are you ready to learn something new today? Great! Now, let me give you the learning objectives for today's lesson. At the end of this lesson, you will be able to: number 1, identify the different types of hazard in the workplace. Number 2, explain the types of hazard in the workplace. And number 3, value the think safe steps. Before we begin to our new lesson, let's have a short review. What is the difference between a hazard and risk? Alright, when we say hazard, it is a situation that has a potential to harm the health and safety of people. An example of hazard is a river. And risk is a potential condition that a chosen action or activity causes. An example of risk is flood. In all workplace, it is very important to know the different types of hazard and risk that comes in. Now, let's begin with the chemical hazard. Any hazard that results from the accidental caused by toxic chemical. Next is electric shock, characterized by pain and muscular spasm caused by an electric current. Electric shock hazards. If you must work inside the line power distribution box, wear an electrician's rubber insulated gloves and safety glasses. Physical hazards. Cable running across the floor. If you need to temporarily run a cable across the floor, place a danger sign similar to those wet floor signs used by cleaning services. We have also the different terminologies used in identifying hazard and risk. We have elimination, the process of removing the hazard from the workplace. The next is ergonomics, the science of designing the workplace environment to fit the user. Another one is hazard control, the development of systems to prevent accident or injuries. The next one is health. It is the general condition of a person in all aspects. We have also housekeeping. It is the systematic process of making a home neat and clean and in order. The next one is risk management, the process of analyzing exposure to risk and managing it. We also have safety. It is the state of being safe. Next is standards, something accepted as a basis for comparison. We have also the 3 steps used to manage health and safety at work. Number one is spot the hazard or hazard identification. Number two, assess the risk or risk assessment. And number three, make the changes or risk control. Again, these are the think safe steps. Number one, spot the hazard. Number two, assess the risk. And we have number three, make changes. All right, hazard identification or spot the hazard. Again, hazard is anything that could hurt you or someone else. Example of work hazard include frayed electrical cords. The second picture in spot the hazard or hazard identification are the boxes stacked precariously. They could possibly fall on someone. The third picture or image in spot the hazard or hazard identification is noisy machinery that could result in damage to your hearing. Number two in think safe step is assess the risk or risk assessment. In assessing the risk means working out how likely it is that a hazard will harm someone and how serious the harm could be. In assessing the risk or risk assessment, you could ask your supervisor for instruction and training before using an equipment. Ask for help moving or lifting heavy objects. Tell your supervisor if you think a work practice could be dangerous. Number three in think safe step is make changes or control risk. Make the changes. It is your employer's responsibility to fix hazard. Sometimes you may be able to fix simple hazard yourself as long as you don't put yourself or others at risk. For example, you can pick up things from the floor and put them away to eliminate a trip hazard. Now that we are done with the discussion about the different hazard and risks in the workplace, let us try to assess. If you remember the lesson that we have discussed so far, try to answer the following question. Number 2. It is type of hazard that caused by anatomical, physiological, psychological demands on the workers. Now that we are done with the discussion about the different hazard and risks in the workplace, let us try to assess. If you remember the lesson that we have discussed so far, try to answer the following question. Did you answer biological hazard? Then you are correct. Number 1, it is type of hazard that cause. Now that we are done with the discussion about the different hazard and risks in the workplace, let us try to assess. If you remember the lesson that we have discussed so far, try to answer the following question. Number 1, it is type of hazard that caused by organisms such as viruses, bacteria, fungi, and parasites. Did you answer biological hazard? Then you are correct. Number 2. It is type of hazard that caused by anatomical, physiological, psychological demands on the workers. You got it right if your answer in number 2 is ergonomic hazard. Number 2. It is type of hazard that caused by anatomical, physiological, psychological demands on the workers. If your answer in number 3 is physical hazard, you are great. Question number 4. It is a type of hazard that caused by inadequate and insufficient machine guards, unsafe workplace condition, and unsafe work practices. Did you answer safety hazard in number 4? Then you are correct. Question number 5. It is type of hazard that basically causes stress to a worker. If your answer in number 5 is psychological hazard, you are correct. Okay, class, for your assignment, what is PPE means? Once again, this has been your TLE teacher, Ma'am Maria Lourdes Agustin Dingle, from Muñoz National High School Main Junior High.